want a second look.
Yeah, there's something about this one, isn't there? Familiar somehow.
We think we're stuck in a specific fragment in time, and we've been repeating that same fragment over and over again.
But the flirting's over, Sherlock. Daddy's had enough now.
Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, TV reviews, connections in mind. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is now the second in the Disney Plus Marvel Cinematic Universe shows. All 6 episodes are now available for streaming on Disney Plus, and this picks up pretty much after the events of Avengers Endgame left off, with the world still recovering from the events of the snap and then the unsnap, or the blip as it is referred to. This series focuses on Anthony Mackie as the Falcon, Sam Wilson as he's struggling with his role being both the Falcon and the person who Steve Rogers gave the mantle of Captain America to after the events of Avengers Endgame, as well as Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, who is still struggling with the events of his past, being unbrainwashed, and trying to make amends for all that he did in his time as the Winter Soldier. While all this is going on, a threat rises with a group of terrorists who may not be what they seem, but they are still threatening the order of the world as it is, and while all this is going on, there is a new player on the field that maybe wasn't supposed to be there. So this video review will contain spoilers of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, all 6 parts. I will be doing my spoiler-free thoughts first off, and I'll be doing my spoiler thoughts afterwards. But just so you know, there will be some spoiler talk later on in this review. But that being said, let's get into the spoiler-free thoughts. Is Falcon and the Winter Soldier a series worth binging now that all the episodes are out? Is it a worthy addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe? I would say it is a worthy addition, and it is definitely worth your time, and it's definitely worth binging more than anything else, because while I do appreciate that that Disney Plus is sticking more and more to episodic release patterns for these event-type shows, it works really great with The Mandalorian. I thought it worked great with WandaVision. With Falcon and the Winter Soldier, however, it really does feel like it was a movie that they just chopped up into 6 parts. It probably would have been maybe a 3.5, 4 hour movie if it was all in one go, if they edited it right. But as it stands now, yeah, it's about, it is very much a movie. And if you watch this as a movie, I think you'll get a good time out of it. As far as the story goes, yes, it is great to see Falcon and Bucky Barnes together again in their own way. They have a certain bond that they were both friends with Captain America, Steve Rogers, in his life, but now that's kind of their bond together, and they're trying to figure out ways to work together. They're trying to figure out ways to support one another. Bucky is very resistant at first, and Sam's kind of the one trying to break through the mold. And when Bucky tries to help out Sam, he kind of sees it with suspicion and saying, like, it's none of your business sort of thing. And that character dynamic is really at the heart of this series. I think they do it really well throughout the whole thing. And really the development of their characters from point A to point B is really one where it helps when, if you haven't seen all of the other Marvel movies, and when the next one comes out, you haven't seen all of them, you miss a whole ton of character development, I feel, between those movies if you haven't caught up, and that can feel like a detriment to someone who hasn't caught up with everything. It can feel like an unintended barrier to breaking into that environment. Here, however, they're given the time to breathe and develop and come to the realizations that they need to in order to move on, and it feels more natural than it would in a longer movie. So in that sense, I feel like this series does deserve to be a series, even though it's only a 6-part. It's more of a mini-series than anything else, but yes, I feel like from that regard, they did a really good job. Also, the enemies in this, or really the antagonists in this series, are also quite interesting. Now, this is revealed in the trailers, so it's not really a spoiler, but as I alluded to, there is a new Captain America in John Walker after the first episode where Sam reluctantly says, "I'm not the one to be Captain America." He donates the shield to the Smithsonian, but behind his back, the government decides, no, the world needs a new Captain America, and it's going to be this guy. So, and the guy who is really not a super soldier by any means. He's a decorated war soldier. He's won the Medal of Honor, but he's really just an ordinary guy, kind of forced into these shoes, and he doesn't really know. He's in way over his head at this point, and his arrogance kind of gets the better of him, and that's a really interesting character dynamic, I feel. As well as the other antagonists, namely the Flag Smashers, which is, they're deemed a terrorist group by the world in that they are trying to disrupt the agenda of the global repatriation or relocation organization that is supervising the people who were displaced by the snap. And it's one of those questions, again, one of those things that you can explore outside of the movies, the aftermath of these big cosmic events. The blip is something that, yeah, it really doesn't, it makes sense that after Infinity War, once half the world's population goes, yeah, you had people move around at all the empty houses, all the empty real estate out there, and then when everyone comes back, it's like, well, hey, there's someone else living in my house. What am I going to do? I'm now suddenly homeless. What? So the Flag Smashers, especially their leader Carly Morgenthau, they bring one of those good examples of villains who actually they are making good points, and they're more compelling, and they become more compelling by the fact that what they're asking for is at its heart a good idea and something good to be wanted, but it gets twisted into in their minds into something that is really working contrary to their actual goals, but they just can't see it. And that's the best kind of villain. I will say near the end there, they do pull like a classic Marvel third act twist in that writing. I'll get to that in the spoilers. But overall, I would say the antagonists in the series also are quite well done. Really, the only thing that drags this film, I keep saying film and series intertwined because it really is a film in essence. What really drags the series down, in my opinion, is that while it is, it's not nowhere near the worst that came before it in the Marvel universe. It's nowhere near the best either, and also because of how the pandemic worked out, and because production had to be shut down. I believe they were filming a bunch of this in the Czech Republic, or maybe it was Croatia. I forget, somewhere in Europe, and that affected the production of this series a lot longer than WandaVision was, because WandaVision was much further along in development. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was originally supposed to come out first in the Disney Plus rollout of all these Marvel series, and I believe WandaVision was second or maybe even third. And I feel like because we got WandaVision first, and WandaVision, in my opinion, was so unique and such a breath of fresh air that we're doing some crazy things, we're experimenting with different things, and it's fantastic. Because it just feels very generic and very much pigeonholed into the standard Marvel format. And while the Marvel format isn't bad, I just feel like coming off the heels of something as imaginative as WandaVision, it feels more generic in that regard. And like I said, while it's not nowhere near the worst, it's nowhere near the best either. And by virtue of all these things, it just kind of feels like it lands in the middle of the pack. And again, because of the highs set by the great Marvel Cinematic Universe films are so high, when something's just a moderate success, it's like, yeah, okay, that's good. It feels like a disappointment, and I don't want that to be like that. I feel like I don't want anyone to see this as a failure. This is a great film. Like, the production design is great. It's really impressive when you step back and realize I'm really watching a Marvel film at home, but it's a TV series. They're putting Marvel movie budgets into these TV series, and it looks incredible. And especially in the fight scenes as well are well choreographed. Again, this is such a good series. However, because it doesn't reach those great highs, it does feel like a very much a middle of the road thing. And I don't think that's necessarily the fault of the show itself. I just think that's a result of how the Marvel Universe has become throughout the course of this decade plus. So, again, if I was going to give The Falcon and the Winter Soldier a letter grade, I would say this is a solid B. Nowhere near the best by any means, but it's nowhere near the worst either. It's definitely a solid watch. Go check it out on Disney Plus if you haven't already. But overall, I would say, yeah, this is nowhere near one of my favorites. And now, with that being said, let's get into some spoiler-free talk where I do some analysis of certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. Now, this series, again, because it feels more like a Marvel movie than an actual TV series, in my opinion, there are certain parallels that I think that can be drawn with other Marvel movies that have come before, and really these issues that have been brought up have been explored through various varying degrees and from various angles, such as with Bucky Barnes. He's basically coping with trauma and guilt over all the things that he's done, and having constant nightmares over reliving his past over and over. He's kind of suffering from PTSD to a certain extent, and that just kind of reminds me of Iron Man 3 with Tony Stark's reliving the events of his trauma after the events of the first Avengers movie. I feel like Bucky's trauma is definitely more visceral, and I feel like it's explored a little better here than it was than Tony Stark's journey was in Iron Man 3. Really, I wish this film because it's double billed as the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I feel like Bucky's journey from point A to point B kind of got, it still progressed in the right direction, but it felt like it kind of got pushed into the background a little bit more, and we were focusing more on Sam throughout all this. So, I mean, again, he got top billing, so I guess that makes sense, but I feel like that's sort of a shame. I wish we could have explored that a little bit more, especially how, what the inevitable fallout was when he comes to the grips of crossing the last name off of his list in the book of, I mean, he's befriended this old man who is mourning the loss of his son, and he doesn't know anything about him. And then when we come to the very end, when Bucky comes to it, it's like, there's something I gotta tell you. We don't cut to the part. We as the audience know that he is the man who killed his son because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Again, I feel like maybe it's better that it was we kind of cut after that. It's left up to the imagination, but I feel like that's something that could be looked at. I think that's a fascinating discussion in how he lives his life afterwards. Does he? I mean, he kind of keeps his distance afterwards, but does he ever come back to it? Is there any moving on afterwards? How does that look? Maybe that'll get explored in the movies. I don't know, but there's that as well, and I kind of wish that the series focused a little bit more on that. Also, this series also focuses on Sam kind of coming to terms, especially in the first episode where he was given this shield by Cap, and now he's gone, and he's kind of struggling with all right, what does this mean? I don't think I can do it. I'm gonna just leave this to the nation. The nation doesn't use it properly, and so he kind of comes to the conclusion, it's like, no, this actually is my what I'm supposed to do, and again, I'm choosing to become it rather than being forced into it, and I feel like that is a conflict. Again, not necessarily the exact same situation or even the exact same depth, but I feel like there's a parallel that can be drawn with Peter Parker's dealing with the loss of Tony Stark in Spider-Man Far From Home, when he's given the Edna glasses that control the satellite weaponry, and he's like, I don't think I want this responsibility. I'm going to give this to this other guy who seems on the up and up, and he'll use it responsibly. Spoilers, he doesn't. And then he's like, no, I'm going to have to take this back and defeat you and assume that mantle for the right reasons for good or ill. And again, that's sort of what Peter Parker went through in that film. I feel like there's a parallel there. There's so many other tones in this film that make it in this series that make it more unique, in my opinion. But I feel like there's a parallel to be drawn there as well. Finally, my spoiler thoughts on just the series as a whole. I thought bringing back Sharon Carter was pretty cool. I'd like to see her again. It makes me more curious to see her as more of a villain in the upcoming Marvel project now that she's revealed to be the Power Broker. I kind of want to have that explored more. They kind of dropped the fact that, like, she's been considered a traitor and she's fallen into the wrong places and she's become cynical, and that's kind of the explanation we give for how she became this. But I feel like a deeper dive into that might be beneficial, just because she's a pretty awesome character. I think she really kicks a lot of butt in, I think, episode 4, when they're at the docks of that one place, and that was pretty awesome. John Walker as the erstwhile Captain America, and then who becomes, I guess, U.S. agent. His story, again, it's like is the sympathetic antagonist, where he's kind of he doesn't necessarily want to be he wants to be Captain America, but he's kind of overwhelmed by the responsibilities of it, and then that kind of twists him into a dark mirror version of himself after a while. I'm not sure what else he's going to be doing, how he's going to show up in later projects, but I feel like kind of a redemption arc would be ideal for him going forward. Not an exoneration per se, he did do some terrible things, but I feel like him trying to live on the up and up now that he's kind of soaked in what happened would be ideal. And finally, as I alluded to before, this film, or this series, it really does get kind of pigeonholed into the Marvel third act twist, where even if you have a sympathetic villain in the Flag Smashers, like, they're pointing out some very correct things. Like, the situation is completely screwed up in that these people who, they did nothing wrong except, be one of the half of all life on Earth that got blipped away, and then when they came back, they lost their homes. It's like a screwed up turn of events. They didn't deserve. None of the people deserved that, and these people are fighting for their rights. And on the whole, yes, that is a great motivator. But then Marvel kind of does the thing where they have to do the Flag Smash have to do something unequivocally evil and then do a sudden evil turn because, hey, we gotta make you hate them again and make the heroes who are actually fighting them justified. And that doesn't, I feel like that's oversimplifying and sort of tying up loose ribbons really quickly because they don't want to dwell on them too long. And I feel like that's a shame. Like, there are so many other, like, sympathetic villains that kind of fall into that trap. Like, Killmonger is the great example of that, I think, where, like, what he was saying, like, people hold him up as the example of, no, he was right. Like, this was, it's like, he's fighting, what he's saying for fighting is great. Wakanda was wrong to stay on the sideline when all this bad stuff went down. But then he starts killing everyone, and it's like, oh no, I'm evil now, haha. It's like, well, okay, now that felt like that was just done to have a third act villain for the hero to fight and be in the right at that point. So, again, that's something that I think Marvel can work on, and hopefully they do in the future. So those are my, again, this series is definitely worth checking out on Disney+. I'm really looking forward to Loki because I feel like that's gonna go more into the imaginative direction that I really like to see from WandaVision, and I'm really looking forward to seeing in Loki, which I believe that comes out June 11th. So we have a little bit of a wait, but I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys liked this video. What did you think of Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. And if you liked this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. Be sure to look for my next movie review, which, if I'm recalling correctly, I believe is F9, which is coming out in the middle of June. So I'll probably do some videos in between now and then, but I believe that's the next big release scheduled for this. Just how schedules got shifted around afterwards. It would have been Black Widow on May 7th, but then that got shifted back. But so, yeah, that's just kind of how these things roll. Be sure to look for that. Again, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for watching. But just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.